Hey guys, Tyrup here, bringing you a 1v1 today. We're on Bayeux. Playing today, spawning on the right, we have baldur1188 playing as Ostheer. Straight away going for Jaeger Infantry. From the left, we have BigCupOfTea playing as Brits. Straight away going for special weapons. This is our Patreon backer submitted game. Baldur around rank 1500. BigCupOfTea around rank 500. You have to remember though that the Brit leaderboard's about half as many players on it as the Ostheer one, so in reality you could maybe consider 500 closer to 1000 for the Brit leaderboards. So BigCupOfTea going for the universal carrier first into Royal Engineers. I think with this build, you know, I've been playing a lot of this commander myself. BigCupOfTea mentioned that they wanted to try out this build. I'm going to be careful about the Faust here. It's still pretty early, but could potentially be a factor. Want to copy my build, but yeah, you want to get the engineers first. I'd say probably double engineers first into the universal carrier. Unlike my other build where, you know, you build the universal carrier first because you're waiting for the cooldown on the sappers, the recovery sappers. Not the case in this. So, you know, Royal Engineers getting them out early is good, especially because they have such a good capping speed. And yeah, has not connected the cutoff, so big misplay with this capping order. But so far, the universal carry harass working out very nicely. Baldur really needs to get this machine gun in position, because it does do pretty good damage to the universal carrier. Coming in with the flank with this Royal Engineer. Oh, you can see the gun traversing, but it doesn't quite get there in time. So this is a real nightmare start for Baldur on the back of that. Branching out to the bottom. Grenadier's a little bit slow. Could have jumped into cover there and probably should have chased, I suppose, against this squad, because now they're behind heavy cover. Can't really push in against them. Can wrap around, maybe go for some of the other points instead though. Trying to plant a mine here. Need to be saving that munitions for the upgrade on the universal carrier.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of our points. Infantry having a pop.
And there's no point in putting a Royal Engineer inside the universal carrier. They can't shoot from inside it, unlike other light vehicles, other troop transports. So it's just tying up two units for no real reason. The only reason you do that is if you want to transport them somewhere quickly, or maybe charge through the arc of a machine gun, which is quite risky, but could work out. And yeah, this engagement just goes horribly for Baldur. He's got the universal carrier upgraded now though. Doing a pretty good job of staying out of Faust range, though Baldur does have the option of sprinting into Faust. Wouldn't have done enough health damage to kill the universal carrier, so not worth it in that case. Though maybe he could have come in with this other Grenadier for a second Faust and that would have done the job. So going for medics. Hasn't activated the heal on them yet though. Ordinarily I try and go for the officer before medics, but sometimes I do go for medics if I have a couple of low health squads back at base. Medics immediately is can lead to a bit of a lull in the action at this timing. Drop in strength. Gonna take a Faust this time, but nothing nearby to follow this up. Pretty safe, and we're still very early in the timing, especially given how much Baldur has been harassed. Wouldn't expect a 2-2-2 anytime close to this. Hasn't done Battle Phase 1 yet as well. Going for a second machine gun, which does generally perform pretty well against the universal carrier. Is a little bit harder once it gets the Vickers upgrade though. But it might do the trick. And the Pyro's out here capping. Tank hunter section out now. Pretty good timing as well for 2 command points. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than this. And yeah, tank hunter section's a very strong squad. You know, I've seen Bao Liang trying to use them lately as well. I believe that they are basically the exact same DPS anti-infantry wise as a regular bolstered squad. In fact, maybe even slightly better. But they do have a propensity to overkill with the Boys AT rifles. So maybe that kind of causes them to even out in the long haul. But they don't seem to scale as well with veterancy. In the anti-infantry department at least. So that's something to keep in mind. But, you know, you play this, get 2 squads of these at this timing, and that is a lot of firepower. You've got enough to fend off any light vehicles as well. Used to a very strong army.
Section of Tommies has been trained.
You may see that against OKW flak half tracks lately. Oh, sprinting in looking for the Faust. Oh, not quite able to get it. Well done. And now that Grenadier getting shredded. We'll take a quick look at the KD here. Look at this. Ouch. Older getting smashed in that department. That universal carrier really hurting. 9 kills on that now. Slightly late retreat. UC's not the best on the chase though. Gets pinned just before completing the capture there. Second machine gun. Okay, interesting positioning on that. Double machine guns letting loose on that UC. It's very low. Still alive though, and with 2 squads of 1 engineers, have plenty of repairs for that. So it really works out nicely, whereas a lot of other Brit builds, you maybe at this timing like are starting to build your first engineer, so having 2 squads of them available right from the start of the game means that repairing up UC is very easy. You don't have to spend any munitions on it. So generally I try and go for the resupply half track from here. And here it comes. With the double Vickers on the officer. And this section, try put pyrotechnics on this section as well. Officer calling in some base howitzer fire there.
Our capture point. They're trying to take it.
G43's upgrading on the Grenadiers.
Ready for orders.
Oh, early trench up here as well. Wait for the half track to arrive. Dropping in some Vickers on the section first, which makes sense in this case. Oh, the G43s. Catch him out the back there. Officer goes down. Enforcing from the half track. Gonna need 2 Vickers on this section to be able to comfortably beat the G43 Grenadiers. Just one, it's kind of a pretty even fight.
Damned enemies trying to take a point from us.
But yeah, Baldur not going for any light vehicle, which I think overall is probably still a mistake against this.
Orders coming in. Jerry has 300 points remaining.
That universal carrier is just doing so much damage. And yep, putting a squad inside the M3 with the double Vickers, quite effective at wiping. Maybe could have chased in for the wipe there, decided against it though. Grenadiers kind of come in for the Faust. Big damage, a little bit late on the retreat after that. Try and chase, try and get a bit of extra damage. Not quite able to get the kill, but that was a close call. Baldu's going to answer that with the pack. But it does have a pretty good lockdown with the double machine guns covering this all up, but triple cap running against him. Bleeding manpower like crazy. He's in a bit of a bind. But yeah, the tank hunter sections, yeah, they're good. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that their heat grenade does have long range on it as well. Need to double check that. It is on a different hotkey though, to if you use grid keys, to like the sapper grenade, so it's actually pretty inconvenient to use. You have to get used to using that hotkey and it being different. It's pretty damn annoying, honestly.
The enemy cut our supply line.
You can see that, you know, DPS versus DPS, and this is a Vet 2 Grenadier. They're trading close to even here. It's G43 Grenadiers, which also appear to be in some light cover there. And here we go, making a big push. Oh. Oh, Pack missing the second shot. UC still alive but not dodging away. Third shot missing as well. Very lucky break for Big Cup of Tea. Generally, you don't need to put a two squads into this. I think there are only 5 firing positions out of this. So the second squad, only in this case adding 1 gun. And maybe if you want to put it like a sweeper inside, okay, but that would be the only reason to get minesweeping as well as damage. Oh, it's a bit sloppy from Baldur. Oh, he gets away with it though. Comes the troop transport, Pack spinning around, backing away. Did have the option of just diving in on top of it and going for the D crew. Probably would have been a winning play at that stage. But playing it safe, backing out, understandable. Got to be prepared. You know, if you want to use a troop transport with troops inside, you got to be ready on those commands.
The enemy have destroyed a
Where
forward
you
position.
drive in, hit, you've got your troop transport selected, you hit tab, right click to jump your squad out as quickly as possible. Cover that in one of the micro tips videos. But if you're planning to use a lot of like, you know, open drop, half track strats, you've got to be ready with those drop-offs, quick drops. Baldur did manage to come down here, do some nice capping in the south while he's under pressure in the north, so it's working out quite nicely for him. But still under a lot of pressure. MG a little bit too far back here. Big Ruffinate. Good connection too. Section gets low. Make retreat. The squad doesn't have the G43, so they do end up surviving that.
We're losing a capture point.
But yeah, if you are up against double machine guns, which I'd say is generally probably a pretty good counter to this kind of strategy, that's where having the pyrotechnics on this section comes in handy. The extra sight range can help you avoid those double machine guns. And yeah, I'd say if you are up against a sniper, you probably do need to go for the counter snipe, but
A capture point is being overrun.
you can make that decision yourself. So Cromwell coming in for Big Cup of Tea,
Our supply line's broken.
which I think against Ostheer is probably the right option. He's using the Centaur ult. Reckless Centaur against OKW Overwatch specifically, you know, just because they have those planes. And the OKW Panzer IV comes in quite a lot later than the Ostheer Panzer IV does.
Damned enemies trying to take a point from us.
So you have more time for the Centaur to do damage before the opposing medium tank arrives. Plus, these days, you know, not a lot of players are using Ostheer commanders with the loiter. Just have the, you know, Jaeger Infantry still probably the most popular Ostheer commander, and that just has the single pass, so they don't need the anti-air.
Lost a unit. A new
Squad
infantry
down
section
there,
is ready for
a little bit
battle.
too low after getting hit by the Ruffinate in the trench, but there we go, pretty good shot from the Cromwell. Randy is very low, combining with the mine. Gonna chase in after this and gets the wipe. Circling around behind the trees, getting away from the pack.
Our infantry are ready to hold the line.
No grenadiers up here to Faust, so Cromwell pretty safe at the moment. But ordinarily this would be quite risky. So if you take an engine damage in this situation, could be lights out for the Cromwell. Drive onto the cutoff here from Baldur. Baldur going for a Stug as well, which is a strange choice. Does have enough fuel for a regular Panzer IV, and having lost a Grenadier could do with a bit of extra anti-infantry from the Panzer IV. But yeah, one of the unique things about this strategy is you have so many snares as Brits, it almost feels like you're playing other factions. You know, you've got the double tank intersections, well, one or two. Sometimes I only go for one, but most of the time I try to go for two. And two Royal Engineers as well. So you've got 4 snaring squads, whereas ordinarily as Brits you might have like 1. So it does make dealing with vehicles a lot easier. It means you're not nearly as vulnerable to getting dived. It's a nice feeling, you know?
Our defensive tactics have improved our position enormously.
Generally, when it comes to the Piet package, I do not upgrade it. You know, as you see, like the anti-infantry capabilities of the tank intersection with the boys' rifles is actually pretty good, respectable. But if you get the Piets, it tanks. They are terrible, and they can't really hold on to territory. So yeah, the only time I get Piets is maybe if I'm in a bit of a bind. I'm up against like a King Tiger or a Tiger, and I need the extra firepower from the Piets. But against, you know, Panthers, Panzer IVs, you know, any medium tanks, I still keep with the boys AT rifles. You know, they still do deflection damage, so even if they don't penetrate, you're still doing something. Often enough over time to threaten the snare with the anti-tank grenades. Oof, well, that was a quick wipe from the M3 on that Grenadier. Ouch. Do we have the Stug in the south? Big Cup of Tea. Floating quite a bit of manpower at this stage. Might be worth just getting a machine gun, plonking it down to cover the central VP. And maybe even an anti-tank gun. You know, been purposefully going for builds with no anti-tank guns at all, but at this timing, mixing in one's probably a good idea. Going for a mortar pit up here. I feel like from this spawn it's maybe a bit tougher to position your mortar pit, but generally I try plant it around this area. More central location helps to fight through the center. You could, you know, switch this out for a sniper as well instead of the mortar pit.
Enemy causing trouble, trying to take one of
Really
our
like
points.
snipers, right? Mortar pit does have the added benefits. Oh, big wipe there. Double Stug. Oh, one of them misses. M3 still alive. They're charging in, but there's a shot blocker here, so can't really go for a reliable attack round. Catch it in the fog. So yeah, the plan from here is to try and stall for the Crocodile. See, Baldur has been decapping the fuel a lot for Big Cup of Tea, so he's a little bit not as far along as you would ordinarily be at this stage. But yeah, the Crocodile kind of just gives you the wiping power that you need. As Brits, you can't really rely on the Cromwell. As you may have heard me talk about many times, just doesn't have the AoE on the main gun to get those reliable wipes. Doesn't. I feel like going for one is fine, but they don't scale as well as other mediums and spamming them. So the Crocodile is the way to go. Here comes the anti-tank gun. Good to see. Could upgrade the mortar. Yep, second coming through. And then anvil is what I have been favouring lately with this strategy. Just because engineer repairs are a little bit lackluster. Their Vet 2 bonus, I think it's like 30% versus 60% for other engineers, so they don't benefit as much from getting the Vet 2. And, you know, one of the main ideas behind this strategy is you don't have to go for bolster. You can save up all of that fuel. So you've got the officer, which gains the extra model through Vet. You've got the tank intersections come in at 5 models straight away. So you can skip out on bolster the entire game. And that kind of like negates one of the benefits of Royal Engineers. You know, by going for bolster, you get 25% more repairs, but for only 1 extra pop cap cost. And I think they cost, is it 6? 5. So yeah, you get 25% extra, but then you don't have to pay that extra 1 pop cap premium for the extra squad. So quite often with this strategy, you know, if you just try and go for hammer rather than anvil, and you're spamming out engineers for repairs, it ends up being really inefficient. Even with 3 engineers, it often feels like you can't repair your tanks quickly enough, especially because sometimes you have to be brought in to repair up your mortar pit when that gets pushed. Back away there. Might have paid to fire off a smoke shell from the Cromwell. Got to be about the anti-tank gun positioning now. Smoking cap, not a horrible idea. Engaging that machine gun. Got to get the heavy engineer upgrades now. Putting down a mortar pit. Yeah, got to plant a lot of mines. We've got a big cup of tea. There's a handful of those, so it's well done. Oof, smoke. Saving the Bayeux, but maybe also saving the half-track from those incendiary rounds. Get 3 on that half-track now, though. I think the officer, if he jumped out of the half-track, could reinforce up to 5 models, and then that would fully occupy all the space inside the troop transport. So like I was talking about earlier, you 5 firing positions from that, so you don't need to put a second unit inside. Works quite nicely with the vested up officer. So Baldur really should have pushed up with the double Stugs here in support of the Hans-Grenadier attack. And as a result, Cromwell assisting, getting the wipe. Tank gun inching forwards. So this is about the time where perhaps you could consider going for the heavy barrages. I'll cool down at the moment though. Just smoking it off. So double Stugs and the Panzer IV out now. It's a lot of anti-tank firepower.
Jerry's got 200 points remaining.
So far the Stugs haven't been super active. There's potential to get overwhelmed, but as I was saying, because you have so many snaring squads around, you can keep your medium tank at this timing pretty safe. You have to play very conservatively with it. Slow backing away there.
The enemy have knocked out a Cromwell tank.
A lot of damage onto these tanks. Do have 1 Bayeux for repairs. Rebuild on the Jaeger command squad. A little bit late backing away with the Cromwell there. Generally, if you're up against 2 tanks, I wouldn't recommend getting aggressive. You never know when an anti-tank gun's going to come around the corner. Oh, and going for the Churchill first. Just a regular old Churchill. Okay.
job's done. Solid work, my lads.
Generally do favour the crocodile.
What's the mission?
Churchill's good for the memes though. The Stug is kind of built to counter it, however. And, you know, in 1v1 these days you're so often up against double anti-tank guns. The good thing about the crocodile is you can come forwards, give them a small spray of flames, then back out. And then the anti-tank gun's down to maybe like half health-ish. Maybe can't afford to stay on the front lines. It's much more likely to get a wipe because the flamethrower kind of does that continuous damage. And that allows the main gun hits to actually get the wipes, because, you know, even though the main gun is pretty bad again, those one shot wipes on full health models, it does have pretty reasonable AoE on the far edges. So, you know, when a squad has been softened up by the flamethrower, that's when the Churchill's gun can really get some work done. The thing you really have to worry about with the Churchill is taking engine damage. When this thing gets snared, it is it's just almost always dies, I find, so gotta be careful about that. Baldur calling in the plane, bringing it in from the long side though. Easy dodge even for the very slow Churchill. Upgrading the heavy upgrade on the second engineer now. And generally I don't equip the engineers with Vickers from the half track, just because, you know, they're 4 models. They already get the Vickers from the heavy upgrades. I generally want sweepers on both of them as well, so then they just end up dropping their weapons too much for a squad that's not that good in combat anyway. It can be hard to get them up to Vet 3, which is where they actually become durable enough to hang around in the late game. Because, you know, they do get that strong Vet 1 combat bonus when they're stationary, but at Vet 2 they still get nothing. So they are very squishy and they die very quickly. Okay, here we go. Troop transport coming in from the side. Going for a drop off. Just on the edge of the arc of the machine gun though, needs to get clear of that. Could be AoE suppressed with both of these. So calling in the base artillery. This tank gun too far back for Big Cup of Tea. Should be just like A, moving it forwards at the moment. We have a mine over here. Oh, he's right on the edge of the arc with that Panzer IV. Churchill's tough though. Can soak up a lot of damage, hard to kill. And no dodge from Baldur. Maybe didn't notice the artillery coming down out the back. Pack gets decrewed. MG42 hanging on by a thread. Panzer IV going down there. Flak Panzer out now for Baldur. He's doing some pretty good work against the officer too. Tank gun coming forward, so up to Vet 2. The finishing blow. Flak Panzer down. Churchill continuing on its attack. Even though it's low in health, it's still quite high in health really, which I think would absorb 3 shots before dying, so pretty safe to use. You can see that the Bayeux AT rifle is pretty effective against the Stug, which has, you know, a little bit lower armor than the Panzer IV, and can't really fire back against them. No machine gun upgrades, and generally players don't go for them on the Stug anyway. Pointing the planes again from the long side. Way too slow though. Second Churchill now for Big Cup of Tea. It'll pretty much run out of composition once everything's reinforced. But yeah, lately I've been going for like a crocodile firefly combo, if possible. Probably generally have lost the half track at this stage of the game. It's some kind of aggressive dive, but if you can keep it alive, you know, for reinforcements close to the center of the map can assist your territory control. Don't forget, you know, if you're in a late game situation, pretty comfortable on manpower, you can also put down a forward assembly somewhere close to the center for the same purpose. Can be very helpful, you know, in maintaining enough map control to defend your mortar pit. And because you have double engineers, can be easier to find time to put it down compared to a lot of other brick builds which just have a single engineer, even at sometimes in the late game, especially if you have crew repairs. A lot of players going for that. And there we go, making use of the officer charge there, buffing up that squad. Something I should probably get better at using myself as well. Baldur gonna throw in the towel here. Maybe he's left already and we're just in that twilight zone at the end of the game. Yep. So there you go. Hopefully gave you a bunch of tips on how to play special weapons if you guys want to try it out yourself. I think it does have a lot of promise, this build. I think it's viable. Just been ironing out a few kinks, a few timings, what to do in specific situations. But I think it is viable. Kind of similar to the Bren Mando strategy. But yeah, as I said, I think Crocodile is the way to go. You know, you have a lot of tools available. You can get some good truck pushers going with the heavy mortar barrage combining with the concentrated fire operation, or just base howitzer fire from the anvil with the officer, or with the section upgrade with the pyrotechnics. So pretty effective against OKW if they try and go for the forward trucks as well. The double tank hunter sections I find are pretty effective against, you know, like 222s. As I said, against the flak half track, I do recommend going for an anti-tank gun. Just suppresses the squads. Found it just too hard to really use double tank hunter sections to adequately contain the flak half track. So I would recommend going one tank hunter section into an anti-tank gun in those cases. Hold the line, also a pretty strong option in the late stages. You just pop it and just sit back when you're in a good position and your opponent can't really push in that well. So in a late game VP race, hold the line, a good option. Generally pretty hard for players to actually get hit by it, but yeah, good for that VP control. So yeah, hopefully you found this very informative. Don't know if I'll ever get around to making a guide on how to play special weapons, but maybe this will act instead, courtesy of Patreon back at submitting this one. So GG. Anyway guys, wrap on that. If you like your game to be cast by me, details are in the video description below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all for the next thrilling installment. Goodbye and good luck.